Hellmaster EX. This award-winning system features the first single-engine joystick with digital electric steering and new autopilot capability. See Hellmaster EX in action at a Yamaha Outboard dealer or visit YamahaOutboards.com.
Dave Anderson here with the Fisherman magazine. It's September 26th. These are your headlines. It's been a very stormy week, which has kept a lot of people off the water, but it's been a good week for surf fishermen. We've seen a really great striped bass bite in the canal. We've seen some incredible mullet blitzes along the Rhode Island beaches. We've seen more albies than you might expect during a storm like this. Stay tuned for all that and more on this week's New England Fishing Forecast.
The Fishing News is sponsored by these fine partners.
Before we begin, we've got a few news items for you guys. Start things off with a little fun trip I got to do this week. Sea robins get a bad rap among anglers who are usually thought of as like a nuisance throwback bait stealer species. Well, I got to sit down with James Beard Award winner Chef David Standridge from the Shipwright's Daughter over in Mystic, Connecticut. And he proved that the sea robin deserves more credit than it gets. He turned it into an absolutely amazing dish. Check this out. So here we are, we're in Mystic, Connecticut. We're just steps away from the historic drawbridge. We're at the Shipwright's Daughter with James Beard Award winner, Chef David Standridge. And before we even begin, I just want to congratulate you on the win. I mean, when I saw the nomination, I knew you were going to win. But it's a huge achievement, and I just want to make sure we congratulate you on that. You may have figured this out, but I'm a huge fan of the restaurant, and I might even push it a little bit further and say I'm a little bit of a fanboy. I follow everything you guys do. And, I might even say that my wife has a little bit of a food crush on you, which we might need to talk about later. But anyway, the thing that sort of inspired me to come here was actually a photo posted by our mutual friend, Mikey D'Alfonso, who's also one of the bartenders here. And it was actually a shot of a sea robin preparation that was published in a local newspaper. And when I saw that, I said, man, I mean, not only does that elevate a sea robin past, casual throwback right up into, the stratosphere of edible artistry, but it just made me think this guy's really got something going on. I got to try this place. So we made the drive. I called up Mikey, we made the drive, and we were totally blown away. And one thing, as I've come here more and more, that's really stood out is that you really like to use locally caught, fresh caught ingredients. You make good relationships with all the local fishermen, and you also push the boundaries of what is a typical, seafood that's typically found on a fine dining menu. What inspires you to do that?
Mostly it came from just wanting to use more bycatch, and the targeted species that people fish for, black bass, fluke, the kind of the big ones.
Yep.
They're under pressure as a fishery, and even though there's still plenty of them, we want to try to take the focus away and diversify the seafood that we're eating. And the reality is, there's no such thing as a garbage fish. They're all delicious.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to introduce people to them and try to diversify our selections.
Fantastic. Well, let's take a walk in the kitchen and check it out.
Awesome. Right this way. Before we cook the fish, we're going to have to cut the fish. So this is a beautiful sea robin that we just caught out on Mikey's boat. I got this great knife from Dexter. It's the perfect knife for this. The way we do it, it's a little different. We're going to basically butterfly it. So we make a cut here. Make a cut here, and then just go right down the spine, and then you're going to hit sort of the belly bones, and you can cut right through those. And then we do the same thing on the other side. So now these is basically your two fillets, and they're still connected, by the belly. So we just flip it over and do a little snip there. Boop. And we got this beautiful piece right here. And you might notice I left the scales on. Sea robin have tiny little scales, so you can eat those.
Got it.
No problem. Save yourself a step. And then we're just gonna take the pin bones out and we're ready to go. So I got a pair of fishing pliers. You can use any kind of pliers, honestly.
All right.
And really, you could leave these bones in if you don't mind taking them out as you're eating it. But for, you know, more of a fine dining preparation, we want to give people sort of the feeling of eating a whole fish. The tail's still on it. It looks like a whole fish in a way. But nobody really wants to mess with bones.
Absolutely.
So we try to, when you're trying to get people to try new things, I'm going to make it as easy as possible. All right, so we're just going to get this seasoned, and then we're going to get it on the plancha.
Okay. Salt and pepper.
Salt, white pepper. I don't really worry about seasoning the skin side, so it's not particularly going to stick. We can give it a little bit. This fin right here can stay. It's just going to get crispy. Yep. So this is a plancha, gets to be like over 600 degrees in the hot spot there. It's great for searing. And just pressing it down so it doesn't curl up until the skin cooks a little bit. We're going to try to cook this about 90% on the skin side, because you want the skin to get all the way rendered out and all the way crispy but not burnt. A lot of times fish like this, when we cook it in the pan, we'll start in a pan, get it super hot just like this, and then put the pan in the oven with the skin side down, and just, it'll keep cooking on the skin side.
Is this, you know, basically the a la plancha fish recipe that you see on the menu all the time?
Pretty much. Really just means like what we're cooking it on.
Yep.
Planchas are great. Like this spot is super hot, and then you got different temperatures as you move back because the burner is like right there. Hardest part with fish is getting your pan hot enough. So something like this. I actually make these now for outdoor grills too, or you can get like a cast iron, just like a regular cast iron griddle, and put it on your outdoor grill just let it get crazy hot.
Okay.
That would definitely work.
That's good to know.
We're gonna add the squash. This is some honey nut squash that we've roasted, but it needs to get a little bit of caramelization on it from the plancha. And then we do this with all of our fish and meat, really. Is you do a nice paste with butter. Okay. Butter and herbs, usually rosemary and thyme. And what happens when you do this is the butter gets brown, and the solids, like the nice nutty solids from the butter, will stick to the flesh of the fish.
I can't even tell you the smells in here right now. Unbelievable.
And really, people see me doing this like, oh my God, it's so much fat, but none of that fat really actually goes on the plate.
Right.
It's like all the butter solids come out and they go on the fish, and the actual fat just runs off.
Wow.
So now the skin is still getting crispy, and we're basically kind of deep frying the top with this butter and herbs. And then we'll just flip that, and that'll go to the back there. It's a pretty thick fillet, actually. You know, people love to criticize sea robin for not having enough meat, but it's like almost an inch thick.
Absolutely.
And so we'll put it back here where it's not as hot, and that's going to cook through the fillet side. And those squash are nice and kind of sit in that butter. So this is green romesco sauce. So it's a Spanish sauce. It's made with poblano peppers, hazelnuts, cherry vinegar, and garlic. And then we're going to take our squash and our fish off the plancha here. So crispy. Sometimes kind of give it another little shot just to give it the extra crispy. Okay. And then this guy's gonna go.
The last time you ever ate sea robin, did you cook it for yourself or did you have it somewhere?
I cooked it for myself.
Yeah.
Because I had heard about it. Actually, you know, where I really heard about it was just an article about sustainability and fish and chips in England, and they kind of went through all the cod, they went through all the haddock. And sea robin for a while was the fish and chips fish
really?
of choice in England. And people really loved it, so I knew it was good. So that's just little roasted hazelnuts and olive oil.
Okay.
And then we're ready to go. We're gonna hit it with a little Espelette pepper, and then just a little salt on the skin, and we're good to go.
Fantastic. Oh, dude, I can't wait.
That's a good fish right there.
Absolutely. A little bit of that sauce in there. It's even better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. I mean, I'm totally blown away. This is why it's my favorite restaurant. Fantastic. And now we're going to check in with Mikey, one of the bartenders here at the Shipwright's Daughter, also a great fisherman and a great author for our magazine. He's going to give us a wine pairing for this amazing dish.
This is the Alice from Puglia in Italy, right in the heel of the boot. Pairs well with almost all seafood dishes, especially the ones we do here at the restaurant. Has a nice salinity, citrusy notes to it, and it goes really well with the sea robin dish that we're preparing today.
Well, as you can see, this place is incredible. It's my favorite restaurant. I drive 80 minutes regularly to come to this place. It always blows me away. If you're heading anywhere in New England, if you're coming up from New Jersey, you're coming up from Long Island, wherever, you got to stop here. It's in Mystic, Connecticut. Easy to get to. You're always going to have a phenomenal meal. I'm Dave Anderson from the Fisherman magazine. You guys got to check this place out.
Save the date. Thursday, September 26th is the Fisherman magazine's fishing show at the Hilton in Melville, Long Island. Doors open at 5 p.m. and the first 500 through the door get a bag full of fishing gear worth more than the $20 admission. Inshore, offshore, surf, we cover it all. Fishing seminars from the Sharpies. Great deals on tackle. A giant raffle. You don't want to miss out. Want to be an exhibitor? We still have a few tables available, but they're going fast. Contact the Fisherman at 631-345-5200 for more info. See you there.
Next up, we have the latest installment of Jenni Ackerman's Open Boat.
Hey everyone, welcome to this week's Open Boat. Today we're out here and we're catching mullet. Oh, I'll get him later, but we're catching mullet. As promised, we got the Mullet Lord operation in full swing. And in the meantime, I got my rod here, I got my 9-foot ready and rigged up for bluefish because bluefish love the mullet run as much as I do. I got a nice super strike sinking popper. And we're gonna catch some blues too. Let's have some fun. Oh yeah. So now that you saw how the process of netting the mullet goes down with the mullet lords, you can go into your local tackle shop and get yourself a nice bag of fresh mullet, and you can go and you can grab yourself a handy dandy mullet rig and go out there and catch yourself some bluefish or some stripers. Catch you guys on next week's Open Boat.
All of this week's entries came from Long Island subscribers. Our first entry is from Ahmed Solomon of Brooklyn, New York, with his second entry of the contest. He weighed in a porgy, hitting the scale at 2.7 pounds, placing him in third place for porgies. Our second entry is Kyle Kraus of Cutchogue, New York, also with his second entry, landing a 16.45 pound bluefish, placing him first in the bluefish division. The third entry is from Joseph Kalo of Paterson, New York, entering his second and third entry of the challenge with a porgy of 2.4 pounds and a sea robin of 2.6 pounds, placing him fifth in the porgy category and sixth in the sea robin category. And our fourth entry is from Joseph Gittleman of Center Moriches, New York, with the sea robin weighing in at 3.12 pounds, placing him in second for the sea robin category. We have a little over 2 months to go, and the leaderboard has changed a lot since last week. Ahmed Solomon at 18 points is now in first place, and a tie at 16 points for Kyle Kraus and Scott Waterman. Remember, please check your weigh-in slips before you leave the weigh station. Check that you're using a 2024 form that you can download from the Fisherman. Check that it's filled out from top to bottom. Leave no blank spaces. And make sure you mail it in within 10 days of that weigh-in. There are 9 weeks left, still plenty of time to enter your fish to win that Steigercraft powered by Yamaha and many other great prizes, but you must be a Fisherman subscriber to enter. Fish hard, my friends. And there were no new entries in the Coastal Kayak Clash this week.
And the last thing, of course, is a giveaway, which is ongoing. We're still seeing a steady stream of photos. We have seen more guys using that feature on your iPhone, new iPhone. You know, you can circle yourself, and then it's just going to cut your silhouette out holding the fish. That's not good enough. We need background in the photo. If it's in a sensitive spot, don't send it in, or use one of those apps that can blur out the background a little bit. You know, because it's just, what am I going to do with that? You know what I mean? But you know, this one's going to stay open till Halloween, so you have until October 30th to get your photos in. And you guys know the drill by now, but it's just going to show you holding your fish. And I need pertinent details. You know, I need to know who the angler is. I need to know roughly where the fish was caught. I need to know what it was caught on, how big it was, stuff like that. Send them in to me at danderson@thefisherman.com, or text them to the number on the screen. We'll get you in the contest, we'll get you in the magazine, we'll probably get you in the report, and who knows, maybe you'll win something cool. This time around, we're gonna give away a glide bait made by me, and no, it seems to be building a pretty sweet competition. So get those photos in and we'll see who wins.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites.
Moving over to the reports now, as we talked about in the headlines, it's been a very stormy week, which has rendered some shorelines pretty much unfishable. You know, especially anything that faces east or anything that faces north that can catch a north wind took a serious beating this week. And that has greatly diminished the fishing reports that we've gotten. So I'm going to do my best to fill it in, especially, you know, from Maine down to the Cape. Those areas got smashed, but I'll tell you what I know. So we'll start things off up in Maine, where, you know, when we did our last report, things were looking pretty good. We had some, you know, peak fall run activity up there, some nice fish, a lot of bait, and then this storm came in, and I haven't heard another report since. I'm going to guess that this is going to shuffle the deck quite a bit up there. It's probably going to send a bunch of those fish packing, but I do still think there will be more striped bass activity up in Maine. So don't throw the rods. Well, don't throw the rods away, but don't hang the rods up yet. You know, proceed with caution until further notice. Drop it down over the border now. We're going to check in quick with James Jewkes.
Good morning. Or really, not so good morning. Well, here we are a week after the northeast blow that pushed in. Still going out here. As you can see, that water is black. Yuck. Holy cow. There really hasn't been any fishing going on the island for a week now. That doesn't mean fish aren't caught. You know, the fish are up in the rivers, down south of us towards Gloucester, on the lee side. Up in New Hampshire, there's a few spots where guys are getting fish. But as far as Plum Island is concerned, this is a complete and utter mess. Yucky, yucky. Anyways, Dave, Mass is going to start their trout stocking, so keep an eye out on that. That's all good stuff. Let's hope that this clears out and we'll be able to find some fish. Now, out on the island, if you've seen out there are some clear pockets out there, way beyond casting, so very difficult, but there were some blitzes that have moved through. Nothing too exciting, cannot reach them. This weeded out area is at least, I want to say, 1/8 of a mile out off the island, so really, go find those other backwater spots, or north or south of Plum. You find some stuff, but other than that, this is going to take at least another 3 or 4 days to clear out. All right, Dave, that's it from Plum up here.
Now we'll head into Boston Harbor, check in with Danny Parma from Fish Bucket Sport Fishing.
Thanks, Dave. Dan checking in with the bite from Boston. Just when you think the fall run's here, the new moon comes in, pushes all the pogies out. There seems to be a lot of peanut bunker in the area. The bass are hitting the peanut bunker, but they're keyed in on those real small baits. So size down your tackle, 20, 30 pound fluorocarbon, size down your hardware, 3, 4, 5-aught hooks, and live line some peanuts, and you'll find them out there. Hopefully the full size, the king size pogies come back, and we'll get back into the fall run. That's what I got for you. Stay safe. Catch you on the next one.
Now this whole stretch from like Scituate down to Plymouth, or even all the way down to the canal, has been a hot zone for several weeks, but it's also been a hot zone for this storm. It took a serious beating over there. We got major beach erosion, got flooding, water's filthy. It's a mess, and that's having quite an effect on the fishing. Water's so dirty, a lot of guys aren't out there. No one took a boat out this week. I mean, that'd be taking your life in your hands. So we're in sort of a holding pattern there. We're taking a wait and see attitude to it, and that's going to extend from there all the way out onto the Cape and even out onto the outer beaches. That whole stretch really took a beating from this storm. And one little piece of advice I can give you guys, especially if you're fishing from shore, as things calm down, as the water cleans up, start your fishing at an inlet. The inlets tend to, spew some cleaner water. They're going to put some bait into the situation. They're going to give whatever fish are scattered around the area a reason to congregate, and it's always a good starting point after a storm. So that's something that I always do, and it's something I think you should give a try as well. So all the way around, the Cape's been tough. There's been some good freshwater action on the Cape. They started trout stocking already, so you got a little bit of that. You can check out the DFW website to find out where. And it's a great time of year for largemouth bass fishing too. Just like the stripers, the largemouths start to feel some urgency at this time of the year. They're starting to feel the season changing, and even throwing some big baits. You're going to find some nice fish at this time. So give that a try. When we get into Nantucket Sound, things change a little bit. That area doesn't take the same kind of a beating from a northeast storm as everything else. Get some swell, but not quite those wind-driven waves. So we've seen the albie action actually held on pretty good. If you follow the Vineyard Derby, you'll see that all week this week there were still albies coming in. A lot of nice sized fish, a lot of fish in the 8 to 12 pound range. And I know they got a new shore leader this week that was over 14. That's one heck of a shore fish. So albie fishing is alive and well. There's still bonito around. A lot of the bonitos seem to be a little bit smaller. And The togging's been pretty good along the rocky side, the north side of the vineyard, and then all along the Elizabeth Islands as well. And you can bet that as things sort of calm down a little bit more, we're going to see more striper activity along the Elizabeths as well. Moving through the islands, Buzzards Bay just gets kicked into a torrent with a northeast wind. I've taken a couple rides back from Cuddy Hunk on days like that, and wow, it's a white knuckle ride. So not a lot of guys were fishing in the bay, but the canal had a really good week, and for a little bit more on that, let's check in now with East End Eddie.
Hi Dave, another beautiful fall morning here in the world famous Cape Cod Canal. Got a west dropping tide next to me here. It's full of bait, a lot of silver sides and other small stuff. I actually caught a silver side reeling in my surface plug, caught them by accident of course, because it's so thick it's hard to avoid it sometimes. And so John Captain Morgan caught a 34-inch striper on his Green Mac Fish Lab, and Slapshot Scotty Yule was also using a fish lab, a white one, and Slapshot Scotty caught a slot and one bigger. And Sage Nicholson, the first grader from Attleboro, continues to impress. She caught a 36-inch on her Blue Mac Savage Sand Deal, and that was on an east flood tide. And on that same tide, 6 guys fishing together had their rods bend simultaneously, and I don't think I saw a picture. I don't think I know these guys, but I saw a picture from a distance, and it looked like the fish they caught were all nice fish, probably over 40 inches, and that was on the same tide that Sage had her success. And Kun Tang was fishing the beginning of a west tide, and he figured because it was the beginning, because the current wasn't that strong, he used a 3-ounce bucktail, caught some fish, including a slot and a 37-inch. So congratulations to Kuhn. He's a great guy and a terrific fisherman. And then the bluefish invasion happened, and Rob Fish Sticks Pisa got bitten off several times with his paddle tails that are keeping the tackle shops busy replenishing those from the bluefish. But then Rob was throwing his Z-Man paddle tail, and he scored. He caught a 32-inch bluefish, and so things have been good. Depends on when you're standing, of course. So my tip of the week is make sure you keep your hook sharp. Until next time, catch a big one.
And now we'll wrap things up in Massachusetts, out in the western part of Buzzards Bay, which is, same deal. A lot of big waves, not a lot of guys fishing. One thing I will say is we're seeing more mullet coming out of Massachusetts estuaries than I ever remember seeing in my life, which has fueled some good bass fishing inside Buzzards Bay for the surf guys, throwing paddle tails and things like that. So that's something that you can definitely concentrate on until things come back together. And I'll guarantee you that tog fishing is going to come back to life pretty quickly here as well.
All right, thanks, Dave. Hey guys, what's going on? Lots to get to this week, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off in Mount Hope Bay, mouth of the Coles River, Twisted Point. Lots of birds working all the way up into the Coles River on bait. Small stripers, I had a chance to get on some of those stripers, and the biggest one I got was 19 inches, and I was getting them on top water plugs. They were definitely harassing some small bait that's been coming out of these rivers locally, and they pretty much had them trapped in the cove there. So it was pretty much every cast. Moving into the Kickapoo River, Spar Island, just the same. There are some birds working out there, but not as much as they were inside. You just got to find the fish, and you can just jig on them, pretty much vertical, up and down, or you can take a couple of casts at them, and you will connect. There are some striped bass out there. Haven't heard much about bluefish either. Moving up into called State Park, into the jetty there off the park. There's been some good ground fishing still. We got scup, and we got some tautog biting off of the piers there. Moving into Bristol Harbor, I haven't heard much at all about Bristol Harbor and its tributaries further up
towards the backside of Cold State Park. Just not finding the bait up in there for some reason. But the rivers are loaded, but the bait's just not congregated, and they hadn't got trapped in there yet. So we got another storm coming, so maybe they'll get trapped up in there, but the wind's been blowing everything outside of these rivers. So moving over to the Warren and Barrington rivers, I had a couple outings again into the Barrington River, some of my favorite spots along the shoreline there, and connected on some just sub-legal striped bass up to 27 inches again, but they seem to be just that same cookie cutter size. And I was using a 5-inch white like mullet type soft plastic paddle tail, and that's pretty much I stuck with it. I'd stay with 5-inch. I switched back to 4 when it slowed down. I did connect there too. So it's that mullet style. It's like a skinnier bait. It's not that full body that was working for me. I did throw a top water on and I did not connect, which was kind of funny. I don't understand why. But the swimmers were working in the Barrington River, and the tug bite is just starting to pick up on the back side of the American Tourist in Warren. So you got lots of opportunities coming up. Haven't heard of any pelagic fish in the Sakonnet River or coming in, so that's a little on the slow side still. So from the East Bay and Mount Hope Bay, I'll catch you guys next week. Tight lines.
Crossing over into Rhode Island now, the big story of the week was the mullet blitzes, which were absolutely off the charts. I got in on some of that myself, and I think I fished 5 times, and I definitely easily, crossed 200 fish. The problem is most of the fish are, they're not a lot of big fish. I guess it's not a problem, but not a lot of big fish in the mix. Fish up to 20 pounds, but those 20-pound fish were very few and far between. Most of these fish are more like 24 to 34 inches. But the NLBN paddle tails have absolutely been slaying for me in this dirty water. I like to throw the bright green one, and it really gets the job done. So great fishing. And this extends pretty much from one border to the other border of the state and crosses over into Massachusetts as well. The mullet bite this year is just off the charts. One thing I saw today, which was pretty interesting, is Todd Treon sent me a video. He's out on the Kayak, and just an insane blitz of larger striped bass. Fish from like 35 inches up into the mid 40-inch class. They were on bay anchovies and sand eels, and most of his damage was done on albie snacks. So he had fish up into the mid 40-inch range, and he told me he lost the fish at the boat that was considerably larger. Caught on an albie snacks. The reason that the fish got off is because the snacks hook gave out. So there's some big fish in central Rhode Island waters right now, and as as things calm down a little bit more, that could really turn into something to keep an eye on. So definitely want to keep an eye on all that. For a little bit more on that type of a thing, let's check in now with Jeff Sullivan from Lucky Bait and Tackle.
What's up, Dave? What's going on, guys? So I have a report for you guys this week. From the surf. Man, it's been a really hectic week in the surf. I've been going out, doing night trips, and it's been paying off big time. No gymongous fish, but they're all solid fish, up to 25 pounds. We're getting them, right in the swells. We had a really good nor'easter with a full moon, which brought in a lot of good productive water, a lot of clean water, which is important. We're getting them a lot on bottle darters. We're getting them on bucktails. At the end of the day, like towards the sunset, getting them on pencil poppers. It's been a really productive week as far as the fall run, beginning of the fall run. Well, it's not really beginning, but beginning of the fall run, the fall season. There's a lot of fish out there, sucking down mullet. It's been a very productive week. Here's some lures I've been using. I've been using an 8-inch mullet run NLBN shad. This thing does not leave my side till November. I can promise you that. But this thing has the best action and the best presentation matching right now. This should be in your box or your bag or your boat at all times. There's a lot of mullet out there and a lot of sea herons. So make sure you have one of these. Go to the store, pick one up, because this is your friend. Of course, we're throwing north bar darters. These things are working really well in the surf. They do work on the boat too. Just be patient with it. Throw it in the rough stuff. Like I said, a couple weeks back, I did a report. This thing's been swimming really well lately, finding fish for me, and it's been producing. And also, the tried and true bucktail. The tried and true bucktail, it's been absolutely killing them. This thing works year round. It's always good to have. It's like a hammer. You have to have a hammer in the house. You got to have your bucktail in the plug bag, you know? So it's one of those things where you have to have one. So, all right, guys, same time next week. Go out and get it. The fall run is in full swing. There's a lot of fish out there. All right, later.
Now, we haven't had a lot of guys heading out togging or cod fishing or even bass fishing from the boats this week until these last couple days. So reports are pretty lean, but I can tell you for sure that the togging is going to really come around as things calm down right now. This is peak fishing for tog right now. And for a little bit more on that, let's check in now with Captain John Lee from JL Charters.
Hey, John Lee, JL Charters, Point Judith, Rhode Island. I'm over on the pilot boat in Snug Harbor, and I didn't get out much this week. That northeast wind was just a little bit too much. I did get out right when it started down the South Shore. There was some decent green bonita fishing and some bass fishing down the beach to the west. And that's all I really did. A friend of mine did well on the bluefins yesterday. He fished quite a bit of weather, but the fish were there. He was the only boat out. And the weather's definitely moderating. So I'm going to fish Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and I'll have more for you next week. And anyway, hope all is well. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
I didn't hear a single report from Block Island this week, so I'm not even going to wager a guess to what's going on out there, and I'm sure it will surprise no one to know that I didn't hear anything from the offshore grounds either. So we're going to have to wait another week before we hear how things kind of shook out after the storm offshore. Along the South County beaches, the bass fishing was the main event for sure. A lot of mullet blitzes along there as well, coming out of Point Judith Pond, coming out of the West Passage, coming out of the breachways. The beaches were hot. A lot of guys fishing day and night. Guys doing it with paddle tails and pencil poppers. Guys doing it at night with needlefish and metal lips and red fins and things like that. The bite's been great. It does seem like there were a few, bigger fish on the western end of the state, on the South County beaches. But even those fish seem to be topping out, more in the high 30-inch class with a couple that went over 40 inches. And then the last thing, talking to my buddy Mikey yesterday, he said he was out south of Watch Hill, and they saw a few pods of albies gathering out there, which is really good news. So as things continue to calm down, maybe this storm was the juice we needed to get this albie bite going. And that's what I have for you guys in Rhode Island this week. Crossing over into Connecticut now, the Eastern Sound is the part of the Sound that takes the biggest beating from a storm like this. And, the race has been kind of up and down over these last few weeks, and it's been in a downtrend lately. And I haven't heard of anyone that's been out there this week, so we're going to have to wait a little longer before we get another report from the race. The good news is up along the shoreline from the Thames River out to the Connecticut River, striped bass fishing's been pretty good. And there's been a lot of blitz activity along there over the last week. But everyone I know that fishes in Connecticut tells me they've never seen a mullet in Connecticut waters. So, I got to believe them. So that must mean we've got another type of bait fish in the area. Could be some peanut bunker, could be adult bunker. Could be bay anchovies, I know there was butterfish around for a while. But the fact remains, blitz activity is being found in the daytime by a lot of surf fishermen fishing along those stretches. And the guys that braved the waves and went out in the boats were doing well on sea bass. They were doing really well on scup, or porgies as you guys call them in Connecticut. And even a few guys were scouting for tog, just doing the catch and release thing for tog and finding some really good action out there. So things are looking good in the Eastern Sound, and as the weather calms down this weekend, it should just get better and better. Moving out more toward the Connecticut River, there's been some striped bass activity there as well, and for a little bit more on that, let's toss it over now to Captain Mike Roy from Real Cast Charters.
Hey, what's up, everybody? For this week's fishing report, we are in the fall run. This is the fall run from now through the end of October. Stripers are schooled up. They're feeding on sand eels, peanut bunker, and a bunch of other small bait. There is a lot of small bait all throughout Eastern Long Island Sound right now. So that's a good indication that we're going to have a really strong push of fish coming through. There's bluefish mixed in as well. There's some false albacore and even a few bonita. The sea bass fish and porgies are still plenty of them around. And in a couple weeks, on October 10th, blackfish or tautog season opens up. So a lot of options coming up, a lot of exciting things. So if you're looking to do a trip, I recommend doing it between now and the end of October.
Now we'll stop off in Westbrook, check in with Matt Stone from Black Hall Outfitters.
Definitely getting into more fall fishing out there right now. A lot more schoolie blitzes. There's definitely a lot more birds kind of looking around, which is always a good clue that something's going on under in the water. Tons of bait. Peanut bunker, silver sides, all the stuff we want to see right now. Albies are running a little late this year. We did expect to see them by now, but we are getting good reports from them being in the areas we want them to be in right before they hit us. So I'm still expecting them at any point in time in Connecticut waters. They've been right on the brink for about a week now. So hopefully soon. Striper fishing is really good. You're gonna run into trouble if you spend your whole day looking for birds. You're not guaranteed to see birds yet. That's more of like an October kind of thing. Fish, points, reefs, rips, all the stuff that you'd fish in the summertime, topwaters, eels, soft plastic, stuff like that. There are a ton of stripers out there, big and small. On a recent trip, I got bass to 47 inches. I have buddies that are doing very well. Surf casters locally are doing very well. There's a lot of fish out there. You will see birds and blitzes occasionally, but don't quite kind of plan your day around just scanning. Definitely get out there and fish some structure before just kind of wandering and hoping you see a bird blitz. Sea bass and fluke, nothing new. Still got guys going out for sea bass. The wind has kept people off the water a little bit, so kind of just rolling over last week's report into this week until we get some fresh intel from those guys. For now, though, we do look like we have a nice stretch of weather coming ahead as far as wind goes. So hopefully some more folks out on the water and some more fish hitting the deck. Good luck, everyone.
The western half of the Sound is the better half of the Sound when you have a nor'easter like this. A lot of shore guys do well. Striper fishing, especially after dark in that region. It's a good time of, it's a good situation for finding some bigger fish along that shore. Boaters have been heading out a little bit and kind of poking out into things as they calm down a little bit more. Sea bass still holding strong, still plenty of porgies around. And then as we kind of predicted last week, those albies that were kind of sneaking along the North Shore have now started to leak closer and closer to Connecticut, and Middle Ground has been holding a lot of those fish. So there's been albies racing around there. There's been some smaller bonito in that area, a few bluefish, and some striped bass as well. So that's been a really hot area for the guys that have ventured out over the last few days. And then getting further west, there's been some good striped bass activity there too. Some beach blitzes and even a few guys venturing out in the boat and finding some much larger fish. And for a little bit more on that, let's toss it over now to Max Finch from Fisherman's World.
We've had a lot of northeast and east wind this past week. It seems like it's going to let up this coming Thursday, Friday. Hopefully, it's blowing the hardtails that were east of Middle Ground, 5 to 10 miles east, a little south in the Mid-Sound into our local waters. There has been some pods south of the islands. It's very spotty, but there are some to, chase around. Hopefully after this wind, it gets really good. There's more bonita actually locally in our waters, Smithtown Bay, south of the islands, Port Jeff, and Middle Ground. We've seen some really good reports, and then every once in a while we see a Spanish mackerel mixed in. The striped bass fishing has definitely picked up on this full moon, especially on the backside now. We had some really big king tides, and the diamond jigging was fantastic at 11B and 28C. We've seen bass all the way up to 44 inches with some big monster bluefish mixed in, so that's awesome. Fluking still remains the same. Guys are, they're pounding these areas. Like I said last week, you can find them shallow or deep, but it seems like the deep water reefs like 28C is definitely holding the nicest fish. We've seen them to about 7.5 pounds this past week. You know, guys drifting, you know, snappers or big fluke bellies, strip sea robin. It seems like bait is definitely the key right now. Sea bass still remain on our deep water wrecks. We shouldn't really see these fish move in close until like a week after Blackfish opens when the waters cool down. These cooler nights are definitely helping. Guys are still catching porgies from shore and on our deep water and shallow water reefs. You know, we're moving into October, so the fishing and then the fall migration for striped bass is going to get fantastic. Thanks and good luck.
That's what I have for you guys this week in the reports. It's been a tumultuous week, but you should be inspired. The fishing's been really good right through the storm. We got a lot of bait fish on the move right now, which is only going to translate to better fishing no matter how you like to fish and even what species you like to fish for. We're seeing albie movement. We're seeing a lot of striped bass. It's peak fall run right now, and there's no reason to sleep. If you guys are not a subscriber to The Fisherman, I highly recommend you head over to our website. That's thefisherman.com. You get a full taste of what we offer. We cover all the fishing from Delaware up to Maine, whether it's salt, fresh, inshore, offshore, surf, paddleboard, kayak. It's all covered. It's $29.95 for the year. You're going to get 12 paper magazines sent to your house monthly. And then during the fishing season, from April to November, you're going to get 26 digital editions sent to your email. It's the best it's the best $30 you can spend in fishing. And you're even going to get access to all the back issues and the other editions as well. So, I mean, you really can't go wrong. But if you head over to the website and you're still not interested, which would be hard to believe, at the very least, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube and hit that little bell thing right there so you get a notification every time we post something new. Appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week.